How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be looking at a classic speed garage track by Intigue. We're looking at the Work That Body Hardclub mix. This is a preview of my remake. So this track was released in 2001 on Armada Records. Most of the classic speed garage anthems were released on Armada in the early 2000s. All of the Mass Medium, Club Caviar and Club Heads records were all released on Armada. Definitely check those artists out if you've not heard them already. So the first layer we're going to focus on is the bass. Then we're going to move on to the stab. The snare build, and then lastly the drum loop and vocal. Great, so firstly this bass, we're going to go briefly over the notes. So it's A sharp, C sharp, F sharp and F. Just going over this so you can follow along. I'm not going to divulge in this very long. I'm going to move straight onto the Serum preset. Great, so this is actually a preset for my Speed Garage Volume 2 pack. It's my new pack that I've dropped, which has tons of sick Speed Garage Reese basses, and leads. All my recent videos have been going over this pack, so if you aren't convinced of getting it yet, definitely check out my other videos. Using this preset pack just makes it so much easier to get top level basses for your own productions. Okay, let's show you how to make this one from scratch. Great, so initiate preset. Let's leave that as it is and turn B on. Pitch them both down by 2 octaves. Let's go -27, +27 on the fine tune. Should sound like this. Turn the filter on, select B. Let's go MG low, 18. Bring the cutoff down. Let's bring it all the way down and let's control it with a macro. So then we drag this over onto the cutoff, something like that. And let's bring this up. About there. Let's now add some drive, some fat all the way, and a nice bit of resonance. Let's select the piano notes mode. Go to the envelope A, add some attack. There's a slight click at the start. Let's hear how it sounds so far. Sounds pretty good. Let's add some effects. Let's add a bit of width, so bring that down, bring the size down, and then add a mix of about 24. Basically makes it wider. And we're also going to add a distortion unit, bring that mix down to about 25%. It's going to help it go through the mix a little bit more. Let's also add an EQ, bring out some more top end. So it's just boost the gain and then maybe drag back that frequency to about here. This way it's just punching through that mix a little bit more. Okay, let's lastly add a reverb. Let's lower the decay to about 2.8 seconds and then leave the wet around sort of 15 to 20. Obviously, you can adjust it to taste, change the volume. Obviously, one thing to note on this, if you want to make it sound like more energetic, then maybe bring the cutoff up. Like that. But yeah, I don't know, keeping it quite muted is kind of nice. It gives the vocals some sort of room in the track. Great, now we've got the bass, let's move on to the stabs. I really like this stab. Yeah, let's firstly look at the notes. Yeah, I've just gone for a fifth chord. So obviously the root note is A sharp for the bass, and I've just gone with that, so A sharp, and then built a fifth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on top of that, and then pitch this up an octave for the top note. Just sort of kept it pretty simple, to be honest. It just keeps repeating itself. This is the exact same as this. Not the exact same notes they used in the original, but pretty similar. And yeah, I think the magic happens in the sound design of the synth, in the effects, which I will get onto. This, as you guessed, is another preset from the Speed Garage Volume 2 pack. We have oscillator A, we have a square wave, and oscillator B, we've got another square wave. One is pitched down an octave, one is pitched up an octave. Both of them, as you can see, are detuned -12 and +14. To get that width that you're hearing, we've upped the unison, so without that, still cool, but it's a little bit too down the center. They're sort of clashing with each other. So if you up the unison to 5 and then lower the detune on both of them, so 0.02 and 0.07, sounds more light and airy and more like almost IB3. I feel like this sounds quite like an IB3 sort of pluck, if that makes sense. In the sub, controlled by this macro, we've also got this. Just add in more depth. So it means there's 3 square waves. There's one at -1, there's one at 0, and there's one at +1. So there's 3 square waves all stacked up on different octaves. If I get rid of this, it's a bit lighter, but I quite like that middle bit. Obviously the pluckiness is being controlled by this envelope 2. So it's got really nice short decay, no sustain, and a fairly minimal release. And that's obviously been dragged over onto the cutoff, and we've got an MG load 24. Great, in terms of the effects, I'm going to go through them all one by one. So no effects. Sounds terrible, right? But then we've got this dimension. Let's make it wide. Then the main ingredient is this delay. As you can hear, it's sort of tailing off. It's like duh, 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 duh. If I exaggerate it, that paired with this reverb, and then lastly an EQ just to bring out some top end. Now we've gone over the pluck, let's go over the snare build and effects. So yeah, this is pretty much just 2 snares at different rates. First one, and then that goes into double time. This first one stays at double time already, and then this continues. Both of the snares are from the Eurotrance pack. Yeah, I mean, you can use pretty much most snares, and actually I say that, you need quite a specific snare, like one with like quite a bit of tail. You hear that? It's almost like a marching band snare. But what I'm doing is I've got this decay automated, so it starts snappy, and then it builds into that tail. So this, compared to this, is like obviously a big difference because that decay. And so yeah, just right click, automate the decay. And I imagine, yeah, I've done the same on this second snare with the decay. So yeah, I've done the same on this snare. It starts short and it's longer by the end. And yeah, that's pretty much how you make a good snare build. It also works to have 2 different snares playing against each other. To make this even better, what you could do is go and add an auto filter. You could take out some of the low end just before the drop, just so it has more impact. So do this. You could also use automation. So one called Around the Head is an auto pan. So you could drag this onto maybe this one. Lower the rate, maybe change the rate to 1 bar. This way it's traveling around the headphones, like going left to right. This effect shotgun effect from the Speed Garage Volume 3 drums pack. So yeah, these drums are from the Speed Garage Volume 3 pack. This is the top 42. I really can't emphasize this enough. It's always best to work with tops and then a separate kick drum. Obviously in there are full loops, and some people prefer working with full loops, but I think if you can get a top loop, which I've made sure in the pack is all the top loops for the full loops, then definitely use the top loops, because then you can mix the kick in better with your bass and you can get the levels perfect. Whereas when the kick's in with this, it's hard to match it to like your bass levels in the track. So yeah, this top loop, quite a busy loop. And there's no processing, obviously it's already been processed. And then after that, we've got this kick, which again has no processing. So yeah, it's a really fat, heavy kick. It basically means it can punch through this bass. I've not even sidechained it, which I probably should have. But I feel like back then they didn't even sidechain, so it doesn't really matter too much. One thing I've done with the vocal, I've ripped this using LAI. I know there's free ones out there, but I'll just use this one because I've still got credits. What I've done is added a delay. So on this send channel, these are really good if you're using reverb and delay. You control it here, the automation, and at the end, I've got it to repeat the word booty. So without the delay, it cuts too quick and it's sort of too harsh. If we turn the delay on, it's much smoother because it's repeating itself. And that sort of fades down. You could turn that down more by turning down the feedback or the dry wet, so turn it down by this automation. When you're using return signals, you need to make sure that it's on 100% dry wet and then mix it in with this here on the send. And that's only on return channels. You have to make sure it's 100%. It's just a weird way like the routing and this bus sort of works. Great, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you found that useful. I will see you next week. As always, comment down below if you found that helpful, and thanks. See you later.